My beloved soul, listen closely because what I am about to reveal may explain the strange energy surrounding your connection right now. This is not a message that found you by accident. This is not a coincidence. There is a reason these words are appearing before you at this exact moment. Somewhere very recently, your soulmate heard something powerful about you, something they were never expecting to hear, and since that moment nothing has felt the same anymore. The thoughts they once pushed away are now impossible to ignore. The feelings they once tried to hide are now rising to the surface. And the truth they once questioned is beginning to look more real than ever before. My beloved soul, for a long time your soulmate has carried a quiet curiosity about you deep within their heart. Even during moments when they tried to focus on other things, your presence continued to appear in their thoughts. There were times when they convinced themselves it was nothing. There were moments when they told themselves they were simply overthinking. Yet no matter how hard they tried to move away from the connection, something always seemed to pull them back. A memory. A feeling. A dream. A sudden thought that appeared out of nowhere. They never fully understood why you continued to occupy such an important space inside their mind. The truth is that your soulmate has been standing between two worlds. One part of them wanted certainty. One part of them wanted proof. They wanted a clear reason for why they felt drawn toward you in a way they had never experienced before. Yet another part of them already knew the answer. Deep inside, their heart recognized something special long before their mind was ready to accept it. That inner conflict created confusion. It created hesitation. It created delays. But my beloved soul, what recently happened has started breaking through those walls. Not long ago, your soulmate found themselves in a conversation that seemed completely ordinary at first. Nothing about the moment appeared significant. It felt like any other discussion. They had no idea that within a few minutes they would hear words that would remain with them long after the conversation ended. Someone began speaking about you. Not casually. Not in the way people normally mention another person. There was something different about the way your name entered the conversation. There was a seriousness behind the words. There was an honesty that immediately caught your soulmate's attention. At first they simply listened. They expected the conversation to move on quickly. They expected it to be forgettable. Yet as the person continued speaking, your soulmate became quieter and quieter. Every sentence seemed to touch a hidden place within them. Every observation felt strangely familiar. The person speaking began describing qualities about you that your soulmate had secretly noticed themselves but had never fully acknowledged. They spoke about your strength. They spoke about your kindness. They spoke about the way you affect people without even realizing it. And with every word, your soulmate felt their defenses beginning to weaken. My beloved soul, the powerful thing was not merely what was said. The powerful thing was realizing that someone else could see it too. Someone else could recognize the qualities that had been quietly capturing their attention. Someone else could see the light that surrounds you. Someone else could see the impact you leave on the hearts of people around you. Suddenly your soulmate could no longer dismiss their feelings as imagination. Suddenly they were forced to confront a possibility they had been avoiding for far too long. And as the conversation continued, something unexpected happened. Your soulmate stopped hearing only the other person's words and started hearing their own heart. Memories began rising to the surface. Moments they thought were insignificant suddenly appeared filled with meaning. Conversations they once overlooked began replaying inside their mind. Small details they had forgotten returned with incredible clarity. It was as if the universe was placing puzzle pieces together right in front of them. My beloved soul, they remembered the times your energy brought comfort without you even knowing it. They remembered moments when thinking about you somehow made difficult days feel lighter. They remembered situations where your presence lingered long after you were gone. And for the first time they allowed themselves to ask a question they had been avoiding. What if these feelings are real? What if this connection is not something ordinary? What if there is a reason you continue appearing in their heart again and again? That question changed everything. Because once that question entered their mind, it refused to leave. Even after the conversation ended. Even after they returned home. Even after they tried distracting themselves with other things. The words continued echoing inside them. The realization continued growing stronger. The truth continued moving closer to the surface. My beloved soul, this is only the beginning of what your soulmate is starting to understand. My beloved soul, listen closely because what I am about to reveal is not a coincidence and it is not something that found you by accident. There is a reason these words have appeared before you today. There is a reason your heart felt guided toward this message. Somewhere very recently, your soulmate heard something powerful about you, something they never expected to hear, something that reached deep into their heart and awakened emotions they had been trying to understand for a very long time. Since that moment, nothing has felt the same to them anymore. The way they think about you has changed. The way they see you has changed. Even the way they see their own future has begun to change. My beloved soul, for so long your soulmate has been carrying feelings they could not explain. There were moments when your name would suddenly appear in their mind without any reason. There were days when they would remember something about you and find themselves smiling without realizing it. There were nights when they would lie awake wondering why your energy seemed impossible to forget. Yet every time these thoughts appeared, they tried to push them away. They told themselves they were overthinking. They told themselves it was temporary. They told themselves it would eventually disappear. But the deeper truth is that some connections are not meant to be ignored. Some people leave an imprint on the soul that cannot simply fade with time. And whether your soulmate understood it or not, you had already become one of those people. Then came the moment that changed everything. What started as an ordinary conversation quickly became something much bigger. Your soulmate was speaking with someone they trusted, someone whose opinion carried weight. At first the discussion had nothing to do with you. Life was moving normally. Everything felt routine. Then unexpectedly your name entered the conversation. The person speaking began sharing thoughts about you. Not casual thoughts. Not surface-level observations. They began describing qualities that most people fail to notice. They spoke about your character. They spoke about your strength. They spoke about the way you continue moving forward even after difficult experiences. They spoke about the kindness you show even when nobody is watching. And as your soulmate listened, something inside them became very still. My beloved soul, sometimes truth arrives quietly. Sometimes it does not announce itself with noise. Sometimes it enters through a simple conversation and changes everything. That is exactly what happened. The more this person spoke about you, the more your soulmate realized they agreed with every word. In fact, they had noticed these same qualities themselves but had never fully allowed themselves to acknowledge what those observations truly meant. Suddenly memories started returning. They remembered moments when your words stayed with them long after conversations ended. They remembered times when your presence brought comfort during difficult days. They remembered situations where simply thinking about you seemed to brighten their mood. These memories arrived one after another like waves reaching the shore. And for the first time your soulmate stopped running from them. For the first time they allowed themselves to sit with the feelings instead of pushing them away. Listen closely, my beloved soul, because this is where the shift truly began. The person speaking then said something unexpected. They spoke about the impact you have on people around you. They spoke about the way others naturally feel drawn toward your energy. They spoke about the authenticity that makes you different from so many people in today's world. And when your soulmate heard those words, they felt a sudden realization moving through them. They realized that what attracted them to you was not something small or temporary. It was something real. Something meaningful. Something deeper than they had been willing to admit. My beloved soul, the truth is that your soulmate has been fighting with their own heart for a long time. One part of them wanted certainty. One part of them wanted guarantees. They wanted proof before allowing themselves to fully embrace their feelings. Yet another part of them already knew the truth. Their heart had recognized your importance long ago. Their heart had already accepted what their mind continued questioning. And now those two sides were finally beginning to meet. As the conversation ended, your soulmate remained unusually quiet. They smiled politely. They nodded. They continued with their day. But inside, something enormous had shifted. The words they heard refused to leave their mind. They replayed the conversation again and again. Every sentence seemed to carry new meaning. Every observation seemed to reveal another piece of a puzzle they had been trying to solve for months. Later that evening they found themselves alone with their thoughts. The noise of the day disappeared. The distractions faded away. And suddenly there was nothing left except their heart and the truth it had been trying to communicate. They thought about you. They thought about your journey. They thought about your conversations. They thought about moments they once considered insignificant but now seemed incredibly important. My beloved soul, this is when they began seeing you through completely different eyes. They stopped focusing on fears. They stopped focusing on doubts. They stopped focusing on reasons why the connection might not work. Instead they started focusing on what was actually there. They started seeing your value more clearly. They started appreciating qualities they once overlooked. They started realizing how rare it is to encounter someone who leaves such a lasting impression on the heart. And with every realization, their feelings grew stronger. The deeper truth is that your soulmate is beginning to understand something they could not understand before. They are beginning to understand that certain people enter our lives for a reason. Certain connections carry lessons, growth, healing, and transformation. Certain souls continue appearing in our thoughts because they are meant to teach us something important about ourselves. And whether they admit it openly or not, they are beginning to believe that you may be one of those people. My beloved soul, after hearing those powerful words about you, your soulmate started paying closer attention to the signs around them. They noticed how often your name appeared unexpectedly. They noticed how memories connected to you surfaced without warning. They noticed how thoughts of you arrived during random moments throughout the day. The more they paid attention, the harder it became to ignore the connection. It felt as though the universe itself was gently guiding their attention back toward you again and again. What surprised them most was the emotional impact of this realization. They expected clarity to make things simpler. Instead, clarity made their feelings stronger. Once they stopped denying what was in their heart, the connection felt more powerful than ever before. They found themselves wondering what you were doing. Wondering how you felt. Wondering if you had ever sensed the same pull they were experiencing. And these questions stayed with them. My beloved soul, there is a reason this message has reached you today. The energy surrounding your connection is changing. Something is awakening within your soulmate. Something is becoming impossible for them to ignore. The conversation they experienced was not just another conversation. It became a mirror reflecting truths they had avoided for far too long. It became a turning point. It became a moment of realization. And while they may still need time to process everything they are feeling, one thing is becoming increasingly clear. They cannot see you the same way anymore. The image they once held of you has expanded. Their understanding of you has deepened. Their appreciation for you has grown. And every day that passes, the impact of those powerful words continues shaping the way they think about you. So if you have felt a shift recently, if you have sensed unusual energy around this connection, if your intuition has been whispering that something is changing behind the scenes, trust that feeling. Because sometimes the biggest transformations begin quietly. Sometimes a single conversation becomes the spark that changes everything. And right now, my beloved soul, your soulmate is carrying thoughts and realizations about you that are stronger than they have ever been before. My beloved soul, let me take you even deeper, because what happened after this realization is something your soulmate never expected. The days that followed were not ordinary for them. They tried to continue with their normal routine. They tried to focus on responsibilities, conversations, and daily tasks. Yet no matter what they were doing, their thoughts kept returning to you. It was as though a door had been opened inside their heart, and once it opened, it could not be closed again. The words they heard about you continued echoing through their mind. Sometimes they would remember a specific sentence and suddenly stop what they were doing. Sometimes they would find themselves staring into space, replaying old memories and wondering why they had ignored so many signs for so long. My beloved soul, the truth is that your soulmate is beginning to see a bigger picture. They are beginning to understand that the connection they feel toward you is not based on a single moment, a single conversation, or a single memory. It is built upon countless small moments that quietly accumulated over time. Moments they once dismissed now seem important. Moments they once forgot now return with incredible clarity. The deeper truth is that your soulmate is realizing that your presence has influenced their life more than they ever admitted to themselves. There were moments when they felt lost and somehow a thought of you brought comfort. There were moments when they felt discouraged and remembering your strength inspired them to keep moving forward. There were moments when life felt heavy and simply thinking about your energy created a sense of peace they could not explain. At the time they never connected these experiences together. They treated each one as an isolated event. But now those moments are forming a pattern. Now they can see that you have been leaving an impact on their heart for much longer than they realized. And that realization is powerful. Because once someone understands the true value of a connection, they can never return to seeing it the way they once did. My beloved soul, your soulmate has also begun asking themselves difficult questions. Questions they previously avoided. Questions that require honesty. Questions that force them to look beyond fear and into the truth. They are asking themselves why your name continues appearing in their thoughts. They are asking why memories connected to you feel different from memories connected to anyone else. They are asking why the thought of losing this connection creates emotions they cannot easily explain. And every time they search for answers, they find themselves moving closer to the same conclusion. They find themselves realizing that what they feel is deeper than they wanted to admit. Listen closely because something else is happening as well. Since hearing those powerful words about you, your soulmate has started paying attention to details they once overlooked. They notice your qualities more clearly now. They notice the way you handle challenges. They notice the way you continue moving forward even after disappointment. They notice the kindness hidden within your actions. They notice the authenticity that makes you different from so many others. And the more they notice, the stronger their admiration becomes. My beloved soul, admiration is a powerful thing because it grows when truth is revealed. It grows when someone sees beyond appearances and begins recognizing the beauty of a person's spirit. There have been moments recently when your soulmate caught themselves smiling unexpectedly while thinking about you. Moments when a memory surfaced and instantly changed their mood. Moments when they wished they could talk to you, hear your voice, or simply know what was happening in your world. These feelings have surprised them because they are becoming harder to control. What once felt like occasional thoughts are now becoming constant reminders. And every reminder carries emotional weight. The deeper truth is that your soulmate is entering a period of awakening. Not the dramatic kind that happens overnight, but the quiet kind that changes everything over time. They are waking up to truths about themselves. They are waking up to truths about their feelings. They are waking up to truths about this connection. And with every passing day, those truths become harder to ignore. My beloved soul, sometimes people do not recognize the importance of someone until life creates a moment of clarity. Sometimes they need to hear certain words. Sometimes they need to see a situation from a different perspective. Sometimes they need an experience that removes the fog and reveals what has been standing in front of them all along. That is exactly what is happening now. Your soulmate is beginning to understand that you are not simply another person who crossed their path. You are someone who has influenced their thoughts, their emotions, and their growth. You are someone who continues appearing in their heart for a reason. And once that understanding settles deeply within them, it changes the way they approach everything. It changes the way they think about the future. It changes the way they view possibilities. It changes the way they see you. My beloved soul, there are moments when your soulmate wonders whether you realize the effect you have had on them. They wonder if you know how often they think about you. They wonder if you have sensed the energetic shift taking place within them. They wonder if your intuition has been picking up on the changes occurring behind the scenes. Because from their perspective, things no longer feel the way they once did. What felt uncertain is becoming clearer. What felt confusing is becoming easier to understand. What felt distant is beginning to feel closer. And yet there is still a part of them processing everything. A part of them trying to make sense of emotions that have grown stronger than expected. My beloved soul, growth often happens in stages. First comes awareness. Then comes acceptance. Then comes action. Right now your soulmate is moving through awareness and acceptance. They are recognizing what is real. They are accepting truths they once resisted. And every step they take in that direction is bringing them closer to understanding what their heart has been trying to tell them all along. There is something beautiful about this phase because it is creating honesty within them. The masks are falling away. The excuses are losing power. The fears that once controlled their decisions are being challenged. They are beginning to realize that some opportunities are too important to ignore. Some connections are too meaningful to take for granted. Some people leave too deep an impact on the soul to simply be forgotten. And my beloved soul, you are becoming that realization for them. The person who spoke so powerfully about you may never fully understand the effect their words created. They may never realize that their conversation became a catalyst. They may never know that they helped your soulmate see something that had been hidden beneath layers of uncertainty. But the universe understands. The universe often works through unexpected people and unexpected moments. It places the right words in the right place at the right time. And when those words arrive, they create transformation. That transformation is happening now. It is happening quietly. It is happening deeply. It is happening within the heart of your soulmate. And every day they find themselves returning to the same realization. Every day they find themselves appreciating you more. Every day they find themselves understanding the connection more clearly. Every day they find themselves feeling something that is becoming impossible to deny. My beloved soul, continue listening because the most important realization of all is still unfolding within them. The story is not finished. The awakening is not complete. There is still more for them to understand, more for them to feel, and more for them to discover about why your presence continues holding such a powerful place in their heart. And as these realizations continue growing, the distance between what they feel and what they are willing to admit becomes smaller and smaller with each passing day. My beloved soul, stay with me because the story does not end here. In fact, what your soulmate is experiencing now is only the beginning of a much deeper realization. There are moments when they wake up in the morning and before the noise of the world reaches them, before responsibilities demand their attention, before the distractions of the day begin pulling them in different directions, one thought quietly enters their mind. That thought is you. At first they did not pay much attention to it. They assumed it was random. But when the same thing continued happening day after day, they started noticing a pattern. They started realizing that your presence within their thoughts was becoming one of the most consistent parts of their emotional world. My beloved soul, this realization has been both comforting and unsettling for them. Comforting because thinking about you often brings a sense of warmth they cannot explain. Unsettling because it forces them to confront feelings they once believed they could control. The deeper truth is that your soulmate is beginning to understand something many people spend years trying to learn. The heart does not always follow logic. The soul does not always move according to plans. Sometimes the most important connections arrive unexpectedly and change everything we thought we knew about ourselves. That is exactly what is happening now. The more your soulmate reflects on you, the more they begin recognizing the impact you have had on their growth. They realize there were moments when your example inspired them to become stronger. They realize there were moments when your resilience encouraged them to keep going during difficult times. They realize there were moments when simply knowing you existed made life feel a little brighter. These realizations are arriving one after another, creating a wave of understanding that is impossible to stop. My beloved soul, there have been evenings recently when your soulmate sat in silence and allowed themselves to feel everything they had been avoiding. No distractions. No excuses. No attempts to escape. Just honesty. And in those quiet moments they discovered something surprising. Beneath all the questions, beneath all the doubts, beneath all the fears, there was a simple truth waiting to be acknowledged. They care about you deeply. Far more deeply than they ever admitted before. Once that truth began surfacing, it changed the way they looked at every memory connected to you. Moments they once overlooked suddenly became meaningful. Conversations they once considered ordinary now seemed important. Small gestures they barely noticed before now carried emotional weight. It was as though someone had turned on a light inside their heart, revealing details that had always been there but hidden in darkness. Listen closely, my beloved soul, because there is something powerful happening within them. They are beginning to understand that real connections are not measured by how often people speak or how much time passes. Real connections are measured by impact. They are measured by the way someone continues influencing your thoughts long after a conversation ends. They are measured by the way someone's energy remains present even when they are physically absent. They are measured by the way a single person can inspire growth, healing, reflection, and transformation without even realizing it. And the more your soulmate thinks about these things, the more they recognize your influence within their life. My beloved soul, your soulmate has also started noticing changes within themselves. They feel more aware of their emotions. They feel more connected to their intuition. They feel less interested in pretending that certain feelings do not exist. This shift has surprised them because they spent so much time trying to stay in control. They spent so much time convincing themselves that emotions could be managed through logic alone. Yet now they are discovering that some truths must be felt before they can be understood. Some lessons must be experienced before they can be explained. And some people must be appreciated before their value becomes fully clear. You are becoming one of those lessons. You are becoming one of those truths. You are becoming one of those people whose importance grows clearer with time instead of fading away. My beloved soul, there have even been moments when your soulmate imagined talking to you about everything they have been feeling. They imagined expressing thoughts they normally keep hidden. They imagined sharing the journey they have been going through internally. They imagined telling you how much their perspective has changed. These imagined conversations have become more frequent because their heart is searching for expression. Their heart is searching for honesty. Their heart is searching for a way to bridge the distance between what they feel and what they say. That desire is growing stronger every day. The deeper truth is that your soulmate no longer sees you as a possibility they can casually ignore. They no longer see you as someone who can simply fade into the background of their life. They see you as someone significant. Someone meaningful. Someone whose presence has left a lasting imprint on their journey. And once that realization takes root, it becomes difficult to imagine a future where it is not acknowledged. My beloved soul, another thing has started happening. Your soulmate has become more sensitive to reminders of you. Certain songs trigger memories. Certain places spark emotions. Certain words immediately bring your image into their mind. These experiences may seem small, but together they create something powerful. They create constant reminders that the connection remains alive within them. Every reminder strengthens their awareness. Every reminder deepens their understanding. Every reminder brings them one step closer to accepting everything their heart has been trying to reveal. Listen carefully because this next part matters. There are times when your soulmate wonders whether this connection has been changing you as well. They wonder if you have felt unusual energy recently. They wonder if you have sensed emotional shifts occurring behind the scenes. They wonder if your intuition has been trying to tell you that something important is happening. These questions arise because they can feel the transformation taking place within themselves. And when a transformation feels this significant, it naturally leads them to wonder whether you are experiencing something similar. My beloved soul, the universe often works in ways that are difficult to explain. Sometimes it creates circumstances that force people to see what they have been overlooking. Sometimes it places conversations, realizations, and opportunities directly in front of them until they can no longer ignore the message. That is what happened when your soulmate heard those powerful words about you. Those words became a turning point. Those words became a catalyst. Those words opened a door that had remained closed for far too long. Since then, every experience seems to be guiding them toward the same realization. Every reflection leads back to you. Every moment of honesty reveals another layer of truth. Every step forward strengthens what they already know deep inside. My beloved soul, there is a growing sense within your soulmate that something important is unfolding. They may not know exactly how everything will happen. They may not have every answer. They may still be processing emotions they are only beginning to understand. But one thing has become undeniable. Their heart is no longer where it used to be. Their perspective is no longer what it once was. Their feelings are no longer something they can easily dismiss. They have crossed an invisible line between questioning and believing. Between doubting and understanding. Between resisting and accepting. And with every passing day, that acceptance grows stronger. The connection feels more real. The emotions feel more authentic. The future feels more open to possibilities they once avoided. My beloved soul, your soulmate is beginning to realize that some of the most important moments in life arrive quietly. Not with dramatic announcements. Not with sudden certainty. But with a gradual awakening that changes everything from within. That awakening is happening now. It is changing the way they think. It is changing the way they feel. It is changing the way they see you. And as this transformation continues, the truth becomes clearer and clearer. No matter how hard they tried to ignore it, no matter how many times they questioned it, no matter how long they resisted it, their heart keeps returning to the same place. Their heart keeps returning to you. And deep within their soul, they are beginning to understand that some connections remain because they are meant to teach us something extraordinary, meant to transform us in ways we never expected, and meant to remind us that the most powerful truths are often the ones we spend the longest time trying to deny. My beloved soul, as we reach the final part of this message, I want you to listen more carefully than ever before, because what your soulmate is beginning to understand now may become one of the most important realizations of their entire journey. For so long they searched for certainty outside themselves. They looked for signs, explanations, proof, and answers that could tell them exactly what to do and exactly how to feel. Yet the answer they were searching for was quietly waiting inside their own heart all along. The conversation that changed everything did not create their feelings for you. It simply revealed them. It simply uncovered what had already been growing beneath the surface for much longer than they realized. My beloved soul, that is why this realization feels so powerful. It is not something new entering their life. It is something true finally being recognized. And there is a profound difference between those two things. New feelings can fade. New excitement can disappear. But truth has a way of remaining. Truth has a way of returning again and again until it is acknowledged. And the truth your soulmate is facing now continues growing stronger every day. There are moments when they look back at the path that brought them here and suddenly see everything differently. Events that once seemed random now feel connected. Encounters that once seemed ordinary now appear meaningful. Even the challenges they experienced seem to have guided them toward greater understanding. My beloved soul, your soulmate is realizing that every step of their journey has been teaching them something about connection, vulnerability, courage, and love. And when they place all those lessons together, they find themselves thinking about you once again. Not because they are forcing themselves to. Not because they are trying to hold on to the past. But because your presence naturally appears within the story their heart is telling. Listen closely, because this next realization has touched them deeply. Your soulmate has begun to understand that what makes someone unforgettable is not perfection. It is authenticity. It is the way a person remains true to themselves even during difficult seasons. It is the way they continue showing kindness after disappointment. It is the way they continue carrying hope after heartbreak. It is the way they inspire growth in others simply by being who they are. These are the qualities your soulmate sees in you now more clearly than ever before. These are the qualities that continue returning to their mind whenever they reflect on everything they have learned. And these are the qualities that make it impossible for them to see you the way they once did. My beloved soul, there were times when your soulmate believed distance would weaken their feelings. They believed time would erase certain emotions. They believed distraction would help them move on from unanswered questions. Yet what they discovered was the opposite. The more time passed, the more they found themselves returning to thoughts of you. The more they tried to focus elsewhere, the more your influence remained present. The more they searched for reasons to dismiss the connection, the more reasons they found to appreciate it. Eventually they reached a point where continuing to deny the truth required more energy than accepting it. And that is where real transformation began. The deeper truth is that your soulmate is no longer running from what they feel. They are no longer hiding behind endless questions. They are no longer allowing fear to make every decision. Instead, they are learning to trust themselves. They are learning to trust their intuition. They are learning to trust the emotions that continue guiding them back toward the same realization. My beloved soul, that realization is simple but powerful. You matter to them. You have mattered for much longer than they admitted. And your impact on their life has been far greater than they once understood. There have been quiet moments recently when your soulmate imagined the future and noticed something surprising. Whenever they pictured happiness, growth, connection, and fulfillment, your presence seemed to appear naturally within those visions. Not because they were forcing it. Not because they were creating fantasies. But because somewhere deep inside, their heart has begun associating you with possibilities they once thought were out of reach. Possibilities involving honesty. Possibilities involving trust. Possibilities involving a connection that feels genuine rather than temporary. These thoughts have become impossible for them to ignore because they continue returning with increasing clarity. My beloved soul, another important shift has taken place. Your soulmate has stopped asking why they think about you so often and started asking what those thoughts are trying to teach them. This change may seem small, but it is actually enormous. When people stop resisting a feeling and start learning from it, they open the door to transformation. And transformation is exactly what is happening. They are becoming more honest, more aware, more willing to acknowledge what is real. The walls that once protected them are no longer as strong as they used to be. The fears that once controlled them are no longer as convincing. The doubts that once seemed overwhelming are losing their power. Listen carefully, my beloved soul, because this is perhaps the most important truth of all. The powerful words your soulmate heard about you were only the beginning. Those words acted like a spark, but the fire that followed came from within their own heart. Every memory, every realization, every reflection, every emotion that surfaced afterward came from a place that was already there. A place that had been waiting for recognition. A place that had been waiting for courage. A place that had been waiting for truth. And now that truth is finally being seen. Your soulmate is beginning to understand that some people enter our lives and leave lessons. Others enter our lives and leave memories. But a rare few enter our lives and leave a permanent mark upon the soul. Those are the people we continue thinking about long after conversations end. Those are the people who influence us even when they are not physically present. Those are the people who help us grow into better versions of ourselves. And my beloved soul, whether they have said it aloud or not, your soulmate is beginning to place you in that rare category. There is a sense within them that this story is not finished. A sense that there is still more to discover, more to understand, and more to experience. They may not know exactly what comes next. They may not know how every piece of the puzzle will fit together. But they know one thing with increasing certainty. The connection they feel toward you is real. The impact you have had on their heart is real. The transformation they are experiencing is real. And once someone reaches that level of understanding, they can never truly return to who they were before. My beloved soul, if there is one final message hidden within everything you have heard today, it is this. Sometimes life changes through grand events, but sometimes it changes through a single conversation. Sometimes one unexpected moment reveals a truth we have spent months or years trying to avoid. Sometimes a few simple words become the catalyst for an awakening that transforms everything. That is what happened to your soulmate. They heard something powerful about you. They listened. They reflected. They remembered. They questioned. They learned. And through that process, they discovered something they can no longer deny. They discovered that your presence has become woven into their journey. They discovered that your energy continues touching their heart in ways they cannot fully explain. They discovered that the connection they once doubted has become one of the most meaningful parts of their emotional world. And most importantly, they discovered that nothing feels the same anymore because they no longer see you through the eyes of uncertainty. They see you through the eyes of truth. So as this message comes to an end, remember this, my beloved soul. While your soulmate's journey of understanding may still be unfolding, the direction of that journey has changed forever. The walls are falling. The fears are weakening. The truth is rising. And the realization that began with a single powerful conversation continues growing stronger with every passing day. Because some people are remembered, some people are admired, but a rare few become impossible to forget. And deep within the quiet chambers of their heart, your soulmate is beginning to understand that you are one of those rare souls. The more they learn about themselves, the more they appreciate you. The more they embrace honesty, the more clearly they see your value. And the more they listen to their heart, the more it leads them back to the same undeniable truth, that hearing those powerful words about you did not change who you are, it changed how clearly they could finally see you. The end.